it's like, just calm down, folks. Just calm down. And welcome to night one of the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast 2026 Stanley Cup Playoff Review Show. I'm Barry Besse, along with my son Carson Besse, who is joining me right now. And night one is day one is in the books, and one surprise, one not surprise, and one kind of a bit of a disappointment. But when you start the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's always excitement. And it started out really with a bang in the first game, Ottawa. And it was Ottawa and Carolina the first game, Dallas and Minnesota the second game. And then the nightcap was the Battle of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. So what we're doing here, we're live on Facebook. And we're also live on our YouTube channel, Best Boys Center Ice Podcast on YouTube. Every night after the last game is played, about a half hour after the last game is ended, we'll come on. And it could be like it is right now, 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, Central Time. It could be 11 o'clock. It could be after midnight. All depends on where the last game is being played. But every night we're going to strive to be on with you, giving you an opportunity to join us live, and you can do so on our Facebook page, or you can do so on our YouTube channel. And like I mentioned tonight, Carson, 3 games kicked off the Stanley Cup playoffs. The first one, we'll start with the Carolina Hurricanes at home to Ottawa, a game that both of us were both going back and forth saying, not really feeling this. And then 3 seconds in, one of the Kachuk sisters, Brady, gets into a fight with Stahl. Literally 3 seconds in.
Right off the draw.
What do you think was that? I didn't expect that. You don't really expect fights in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
No.
I don't know what was that. There's not like there's a whole lot of animosity between Carolina and Ottawa or Brady Kachuk, and I just don't get that. But it didn't work. If Ottawa was trying to do it as intimidation, it didn't work, as Carolina came out and won 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's how Brady kind of gets the team into it. That's pretty much what he does, and no, can't hate on the game. Sometimes it works, but yeah, the goals that Omar gave up were pretty bad. But I mean, he didn't play that badly either. He played pretty good. Freddie Anderson was out of his mind there for a little bit in the second. He made some crazy saves to keep him in. But I mean, I'm not super surprised. I mean, the Canes are super stingy defensively. They both are, actually. Both teams are. But the Canes are better at it. And that's why it was a shutout, 2-0. It's going to probably be like that for most of the series, where there's not a lot of scoring, just because of the fact that both teams do play so defensively. That's just how they operate. And Carolina is notably good at that. The Sens are good at that. But yeah, I feel like, honestly, there were some points in that game that were entertaining, like lots of good hits and pushing and shoving around and stuff. But I'm just still like, the series is the one that just kind of doesn't excite me all that much. But it was nonetheless a playoff game. But yeah.
Stan Coven and Taylor Hall each a goal and an assist, as Carolina wins that 2-0. Freddie Anderson, he had, trying to see here how many shots on goal. It's like he had 22 shots on goal. So 22 save shutout for Freddie Anderson. He's a typical Freddie Anderson game. Game 2 in this series is coming up. Let's see.
Monday. It's got to be Monday, I think.
April.
Yeah, it's Monday. It's Monday.
20th. Yeah, April 20th. So Monday is going to be game 2. I'm looking at my screen and it's like I can't see very well. So that was the first game. And again, not a game that we're awfully excited about, but it's playoff hockey. Now, the game that surprised me the most, and it didn't. The Battle of Pennsylvania was good. It was, it could have went a better way for Pittsburgh, but this Minnesota Dallas game
Yeah,
totally just blew me away as far as the score. 6-1, and I know there was an empty netter, but what was like I looked at this Dallas team going, this is the team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year. This is the team that's been to the Western Conference Finals, 3 years in a row? And they looked pathetic. I know they lost game one last year against Colorado, but
yeah.
they just looked like a
They looked bad. They just didn't have it.
this is the second this is the second best team in the NHL. And I know we said it was going to be, either Minnesota or Dallas, a really, really good team is going to be out in the first round, but I did not see 6-1 coming.
I didn't either. I mean, I was expecting it to be close, and it was not. I mean, Minnesota literally ran away with it. 3 quick goals in the second. I mean, like I said, the difference maker, I don't want to say the only difference maker, but I mentioned yesterday is Otter, whether which one you got. And Otter
Yeah,
just did not play have a good game. He had a bad game, and the Stars just didn't look like they were in it pretty much most of the night. They just started behind the 8 ball, gave up an early power play goal, and I mean that was pretty much it from there.
yeah,
Rough night for them. I mean to get booted like that at home, but that's the good thing about it is it's only game one. I think both of those teams are very capable of winning on the road and at home. And so if you're Dallas, this is one that you get in quick memory. You get it out of your system. You play the game. Now come back Monday and ready to kick some butt because that's you never want to get embarrassed at home, and they sure did. And
yeah.
that's not the
And
way you wanted to start.
giving up 3 power play goals doesn't help either. Minnesota game one.
Yeah, kudos to them. They
Game
played.
one,
They played great. They
yeah,
played an awesome game.
hats off. The Wall of St. Paul played great again. In net for Minnesota, but that's Minnesota. Okay, well, just it's kind of like Toronto. Okay, well, Toronto used to win game one, but then they would fall apart. Will Minnesota be able to maintain this over a 7 game series? I still think this one's going to go 6, maybe 7. It was just hopefully, as far as Dallas is concerned, just
Yeah, that it
an
won't happen
oddity.
again.
Won't happen again. Get your bump in the road out of the way in game one. But the Wild do now take a 1-0 series lead. It's always important for the road team to have a great game
Hmm.
going in to that the first couple
Yeah,
of games. Like what Minnesota did and what Philadelphia is. What we're going to talk about here in a second. What they did is they basically, they took home ice away from the team from
hmm
Pittsburgh and from Dallas, and you walk into somebody else's building and you win game one, that can that could either charge the home team or that could really deflate them. So, what kind of a team is Dallas going to be
yeah.
after losing that 6-1? Now, if they come out and they lay another egg again on Monday night, again and go down 0-2 to Minnesota, that will be a very deep hole to try to get out
I
of.
mean, they did it a couple years ago against Vegas too. They went down 2-0 at home and somehow won the series. But yeah, they can't do that again.
No,
Cannot.
you can't keep playing from behind. So, Harrison Eck had a couple of goals. He led the way for Minnesota tonight. So 6-1. Just Otter was not Otter.
Hmm.
They gotta take tomorrow practice, get back on it Monday and Monday night and see what they can get back into
Yeah.
this series on Monday night in Dallas. Now, the Battle of Pennsylvania.
Mm.
This has been coming for a long time. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. Kind of knew it was going to be Philly, Pittsburgh in the first round, and the place was the arena in Pittsburgh was nuts. It was just crazy. It was just loud. Um, it was playoff atmosphere.
I think that was the best one of the best atmosphere of the day. I
Yeah,
think you could just feel it from
the crowd was in it. You can tell every time that a flyer touched the puck, the Penguins fans were just on them.
uh,
That's what you want in playoff hockey. You want that Boston Montreal rivalry, Edmonton Calgary.
yeah.
You want that rivalry, Pittsburgh Philadelphia. And they had, they had talked about Pittsburgh, Washington for a few years as being a rivalry, but that when it's interstate, when it's like you got two teams in your state or your province if you're in Canada, and they battle in the playoffs, it's going to be, they don't like each other. They do
Yeah,
not like each other. The clips that they showed pregame of Sid going, I don't like anybody on that team. I just don't like anybody on that team.
yeah,
And
that's a good old clip from I think like 2012 maybe.
they
That's an
just
old
and
clip.
it's and Philly came out and my wife and I, Beth, were watching the game and kind of said to her, look, like Pittsburgh looks tight. Philly looks like they're just like they're loose and they're playing like they
Yeah.
don't,
No
they're
pressure on
playing
their
like
backs.
they got no pressure. Pittsburgh had so much pressure and they looked like they had a tremendous amount of pressure. Only
Mhm.
17 shots on goal for the Penguins. Malkin's goal was great. It was a beautiful goal, and but again, you're down 3-1 late, and you're on a what was it? What they won on 4-on-4.
4-4, yeah.
Crosby goes off on the 4-on-4 in a penalty. They get the goal from Rusty. Okay, it's still a minute left, and then it was just a brilliant save towards the end um, by the Flyer goaltender, and it was like you said, just inches away, and that
Yeah.
thing would have been tied. We would have been waiting for overtime to start.
Yeah.
Not the start that you wanted for the
Mm.
Penguins. Nobody wanted that for your club. But again, I think you take you take the fact that okay, you didn't play your best game at all. Like seriously, you're not. And you even said it here just a couple of minutes ago. Probably your worst game you played all year, but you still only lost by one, and it's game one,
Yeah.
and you got another home game coming up.
Yeah.
Nothing. I think Stu played pretty good.
He had a great game. Oh my
He had a
God.
great game.
Yeah.
He made some big saves, kept him in it. There's a couple of the goals were tip ins, and you can't really fault goaltenders for those. I think this is going to be. We said it was going to be a long one. I didn't expect game one to go to Philly, but that's just the way the playoffs are.
Mhm.
Like we said, everybody's at zero. You start from zero, and you start all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for sure, I'm disappointed in the result. I mean, lots of anticipation going into this game, that it was going to be a great game. And I mean, they just, from the Penguins' point of view, they played poor. They played poor. From the fans' point of view, like neutral ways, that was a pretty good game because it had everything that the game was supposed to have. Tons of physicality, and they were pushing and shoving all the time. The first, like Dad mentioned, the crowd was very good tonight, and they had mentioned it during the broadcast on ESPN. The first penalty of the game, the Flyers took it 2 minutes in. Rasmus Ristolainen hit Elmer Soderblom so late after the whistle, and it wasn't really his fault. He did that because he didn't hear the whistle that the play had stopped,
Yeah,
and
because it
so
was
he
so
pushed.
loud.
It was so loud in there, he didn't hear the whistle, and that's how loud it was in there. And for the fans, very disappointing. The the problems the problem I think that you had tonight, the Flyers changed up their defensive scheme. The Flyers were playing in that 1-3-1 diamond, and the Penguins were not doing anything to adjust to that game the entire time. You went the first period. I kind of gave it a little discount because of the fact that it was early, it was physical, there was a lot going on. You knew there's a lot of emotion, but they did not adjust to anything. They just kept letting them do what they wanted, and anytime the Penguins had a good chance. It was a one and done, and they, for way too much of the time, kept the play along the boards. They kept the plays along the boards, and it wasn't working. And they kept doing it, and kept doing it, and kept doing it. And really, that goal. Thank God they scored that goal to tie it. But before that, it looked like no one wanted to shoot it. Like they were
Yeah.
just holding the puck, and no one could make a decision on whether to shoot it or not. Um, you're not going to beat them like that.
Mm-mm.
Philly's a good team, and they've been playing with a lot of fire. This also kind of leads fans to question, was it the right move to sit the guys out like they did at
Yeah.
the end? Because they were already in a spot, but was it the right move to sit them out and to have them kind of looking rather rusty? They didn't look that good. I mean, Gino had his goal, but he looked sloppy. Sid looked not great.
Mm.
They all just looked off.
Yeah.
Um, their bread and butter all season was being able to roll their four lines, and they didn't really get to do that in the first because there were so many whistles. And after that, they had no sustained zone time. They would get in and be out in like
Mhm.
15 seconds because the Flyers were just clogging everything up. I think you switch the lines up for game two. I think as much as I like him, the Chinikov Sid experiment to me has not really been that good. Even when they tried it in the regular season, like they've had a couple times where they scored with it, but to me, this consistency wise doesn't look good. I think you put him back with Gino and move Raquel back up to that first line again, and you
Yeah.
put Novak, Malkin, Chinikov line two. I think Chinikov and Malkin had such a good chemistry when they were playing together. Once they got lined up, I don't think you change that. I think you bring them right back to where they were. Bottom six to me looked good. The fourth line did what they had to do. They stepped in, killed some good penalties, and Soderblom looked good. He had some good chances. Uh, EK looked rough to me. He just looked like he didn't want to shoot it, and much like everybody else,
Mhm.
the only player on the team to me, or the only couple players to me that had a good game was Lizotte. For us, fourth line penalty killer did great. Stu had a good game, but you know, now the pressure's on the Penguins. That's the crappy part, is that it's on
Yeah.
them now because the Flyers got home ice back.
Mhm.
I think this is like what we said for Dallas, even though this wasn't a blowout. The Penguins know they didn't play good. They played bad. And you don't want to do that in front of your fans when they've been waiting for this game.
No.
Um, I think you use this as a learning lesson, how you're going to adapt. You look at it from a positive point for a little bit that you lost by 1 goal and you played your worst game of the year. And you lost by one and nearly tied at the end. But they can't do this again. They got to be ready to go in game two and play a lot more spirited from the jump of the game. Not let the Flyers BS get to them because it kind of did. I mean, you saw at the end, Sid had enough and finally just took those
Yeah.
cross-checking penalty because he was done. They can't let him do that to them again. They got to be like if they're hacking and whacking at him, let him do it and let him take the penalty for it. You
Mhm.
know, you
Yeah.
don't put yourself in trouble.
You
But
don't. You just have to. You have short-term memory. We talked about this in the last couple of years of
yeah,
playoffs. Short-term memory.
yeah,
Get out there, play game two.
yeah,
Forget about game one. Take what you learned from game one, add it to game two. Play your game. Don't play the other
yeah.
team's game, and you'll be
Well,
fine. So,
and
I
like I
think.
said, special teams is going to be the difference in the series, and the Flyers won that battle.
Yeah.
And the big problem that we saw, especially in that second power play, is that with that pressure the Flyers were putting, the Penguins kept going off sides, trying to enter the
Mhm.
zone over and over and over again, and their typical play of it, they don't do like okay like the McJesus where he goes in by himself. They like to rim the puck around the boards and dump it in. And every time they were able to do that or trying to do that, the Flyers would like spread out where they really weren't able to. And so it's drawing them off sides all the time.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't think that this is a game that you look at and you panic. If you're on the team or if you're a fan, you might be frustrated. I am for sure. I mean, I wanted them to win after all that time they haven't been in, but they played such a bad game and they barely lost. And that end of the game was as chaotic as it could have been because they literally were, they brought it to 3-2 with 1 minute, and then Mantha had that golden opportunity at the end that I felt like was just such a slow motion play, but they've got to play loose now, not so tight up on their sticks, and shoot the freaking puck because
Yeah.
that's why they had their best scoring season under the Sid Gino era this year is because they shot the puck a lot. They've got to shoot anytime they can because they beat Vladar a couple times and they're going to beat him. They just got to shoot it. And the other way around, don't let their antics get to you because that's how they're going to play you. And
Mhm.
they've now kind of got the idea that they can do that and get in your heads and draw the game where they want and taking your guys out because they're going to try to get under Sid's skin and Gino's skin because they know they can do that. You
Yeah.
can't let them. You can't let them get out of this. You got
Yeah.
out of this down 1-0 now. Go back and win the next game, and you're up. You're even 1-1. And if there's any building that this team is notorious for winning in, it's in Philly.
Yeah.
So
Well, so you
I
got Carolina, Minnesota, and Philadelphia with a 1-0 advantage, but you can't count
that's
out
why it's 7 games.
you can't count out Pittsburgh. You can't count out Dallas. Ottawa, we don't expect them to win, maybe win a game or two, but it's going to be a better game, for Ottawa's sake in game two. game one is always that feel out. Like you said, maybe you've rested guys like Pittsburgh did, or maybe you had to fight your way to get into the playoffs on the last day. It's the playoffs are just so it's like it's not you can't really sit on a piece of paper and go yep 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 and it's going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. It doesn't work like that in any sport, especially in hockey, because there's so much parity in the league. And
Hmm.
we got some more game ones coming up tomorrow. Starts off at 2 o'clock Central Time. The Kings in Colorado against the Avalanche. And then following that will be a game I'm really interested in watching: Montreal and Tampa Bay. That'll be at 4:45 our time, Central Time. And then the late games, the one that everybody's talking about, and they've already sold out of the Buffalo Saber drink
The beer stick, yeah,
beer thing. They already sold them out for game one. There's no more left for
yeah, it's
that
gonna be
first game
crazy.
between Boston and Buffalo. That just to see that it's going to be down here in the States. It's going to be on ESPN at 6:30. Just to see the atmosphere of the first few minutes of that game is going to be worth the price of admission, because
Yeah,
that place in Buffalo, it's going to be loud and it's going to be proud. And then the nightcap is 9 o'clock Central Time. Utah, their first ever playoff game in Las Vegas against the Golden Knights. So we'll be on about a half hour after
probably at
that
12.
game concludes. So big lineup, 4 games tomorrow, Carl.
Yep, for tomorrow. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good set of games for sure.
And then Monday, the Oilers get their first taste of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Monday matchups will have the Flyers and Penguins in game two at 6 o'clock. At 6:30, it'll be the Senators in Carolina. At 9:30, I'm sorry, 8:30 Central will be Minnesota and Dallas. And then the nightcap on Monday at 9 o'clock Central Time. It's the Edmonton Oilers and the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. So the Oilers don't get their first taste of the playoffs until Monday night, but we got some good ones tomorrow. We'll
Yep,
be with you again right about a half hour after the Vegas game. The Vegas and Utah game ends. That's going to be a good one too. Look forward to watching
yeah,
that. We'll be on here. Carson and I will be on. It's probably going to be about midnight, a little after midnight, because you never know with the Stanley Cup playoffs.
yeah,
But we great action, a great way to start the first night, the first day of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to be live all playoffs long on here on Facebook and on our YouTube channel, the Best Boys Center Ice podcast on YouTube, and it'll be replayed, of course, here shortly. As soon as it gets all wound up and ready to go, you can rewatch the podcast every night, and all the podcasts will be available all playoffs long on both our Facebook channel, and especially if you want to really go and to subscribe, go to our Best Boys Center Ice podcast on YouTube. All right, Carr. Well, good
yep.
game one. I was hoping that we had a better outcome for the Battle of
Yeah. It
Pennsylvania,
was
but
just nice to see playoffs there again. Honestly, it was.
there's still lots of playoff yet to go.
Yep.
And in the meantime, and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.